All right, let's go to the big one. Let's talk about Dalvin Cook. And, the 3 words or 2.5 words that you hate to hear, or at least I hate to hear whenever something comes up like this, is non-contact injury. Oh. Anytime I see something like that, I'm like, well, that just means something inside their leg exploded, basically.
Yep.
And
exactly.
In fact, that's true. It looks like he's got, an ACL, torn ACL out for the year?
Torn ACL confirmed today, done for the year. Just devastating for owners. Myself included in my biggest league. I lost him and Montgomery this week. Montgomery at least looks like he's week to week, like early to be back soon. But obviously Cook's done for the year, was second in the league in rushing going into the week, had 5, runs of 20-plus yards, which was more than the Vikings had all last year in less than a quarter of the season. So, the guy was absolutely killing it. It was so fun to watch him. Just a workhorse in every sense of the word, 30-plus touches a week. So you're losing something massive here. It hurts. It's not going to feel good. But, this is fantasy. Life goes on. You have to be able to just kind of, cry your tears, get them out. I certainly was not happy yesterday, but you got to pick that chin up, get back to it. And thankfully this week, you're not finding a replacement. I shouldn't say you're not getting that production on the waiver wire. They're on the waiver wire, but there are some names that can at least be a Band-Aid, that can at least be a kind of nice little snuggly to cuddle with and console you just a little bit this week. So there's certainly, as bad as this injury is, and you might want to curse the fantasy gods and scream at them, they've given us a few options to soften the blow, I should say.
All right, give me 1 or 2 guys that you think might be a decent, realistic pickup for Cook.
So I will just start with the tier 1 guys that I think this is, obviously a drop-off, but the drop-off is much less steep if either of these two are available in your league. And the first is Alvin Kamara, who we've recommended time and time again. This is now the 3rd or 4th there's been 4 weeks of waivers. He's been on all of our lists. He's still only 45% owned, so less than half the leagues he's owned in, which just blows my mind. It was funny is last week I wrote in my article, I believe Kamara is going to go down as 2017's true difference maker from the waiver wire. Once he finally gets the touches he deserves, there's going to be a point where he's seeing 12 to 15 looks a game. And that point ended up being this week. He had 10 catches this week, 5 carries. So he's already there. I was expecting this maybe, week 8, week 9. They finally would have phased out AP. No, they're there. They've decided we're done with AP. This experiment didn't work. Peyton even said before the game, we're going to try to roll out 2 backs per week from now on rather than trying to fit 3 guys into the system. And Kamara is clearly one of the ones that's locked in. 15 touches again this week, ripped it up for 96 total yards, a TD, 10 catches. And we've seen so many times that joker role in Sean Payton's offense, from Darren Sproles to Reggie Bush. They're always a PPR RB1. He's targeted, Sean Payton has, the running back position 168 times per year, which is 30 more than the next closest team. So loves throwing to the running back, especially when he has a guy like Kamara to throw to. We're going to see 7 to 8 catches every single week out of this guy. He's a PPR RB2 at worst, maybe even an RB1 low end. Moving on for the rest of the year. I really think Kamara, if he's somewhere out there and you lost Cook this week, he's like your godsend. He's your savior. Throw every single waiver wire dollar down on him if he's somewhere out there in your league. I absolutely love Alvin Kamara moving forward.
Anybody else?
Well, so you got to obviously look at Latavius Murray, the guy that's the next man up in Minnesota, 16% owned in Yahoo leagues. So he's much more widely available. And Pat Shurmur, a good stat I found today from Scott Barrett, one of our favorite guys to look up stats from Pro Football Focus. Pat Shurmur just absolutely rides bell cows historically. His RB1s get 84% of the rush attempts when he has a true RB1, and second in weighted opportunities, which kind of combines receptions and all that, with 76% of the opportunities per game are going to that number 1 running back. Now, obviously, it helps when you have a guy like Dalvin Cook, when he's as versatile and as explosive as him and does it in all 3 facets so well. Yeah, of course Dalvin Cook's going to be a true workhorse, but Murray I feel like just gets kind of shit on, and he shouldn't. This is a guy that's 223 pounds, 6'2", ran a 4.38 40. So when you talk about explosiveness, we're not talking about some just no-name below average plotter coming in here. This is a guy that scored 12 touchdowns in 14 games last year, topped 1,000 yards the year before. This is better than your just standard backup handcuff. This is a good talent coming into a workhorse situation. So I really like, obviously McKinnon will probably be a little bit more involved as a good receiver, but Murray can catch the ball. He had 41 catches just 2 years ago and would have topped that if he stayed healthy all last year. So, I mean, the guy can catch the ball. The guy can be a workhorse. They paid $15 million before they drafted Dalvin Cook to get this guy. So clearly they saw something they liked and were planning to feature him. And then Cook just kind of fell into their laps and they couldn't pass up a talent like that on the second day of the draft. So, Murray should be a workhorse moving forward. We've seen that this offense is a lot better than we anticipated with Stephon Diggs taking that next step, Thielen being so legit. I think Murray you can really trust as at least a solid flex, if not a decent RB2 moving forward. So I think those two are just, if you can get one of those two, you throw it down, you get everything on the waiver wire budget to try to get Murray, or Kamara would be my number one if he's out there. And then there's still a couple more options, but those two are clearly head and shoulders above the rest.
All right, you heard it here first. Well, maybe not first, but you heard it here best.
We got a few more names. Is there time to go through them, or? Those are the two top options.
There's always time. Why don't you run down like a couple quickly?
All right. Yeah, I like to ramble, but one would be Andre Ellington. Saw 14 targets in week 4. And I don't think that's good. I mean, 14 is going to be his cap, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But they're going to just keep chucking the rock. They have literally no running game to speak of. Chris Johnson's, a zombie, not even a zombie. That's giving him too much credit out there. He's garbage. Kerwin Williams is even worse. So they're just going to keep chucking the rock. They lead the league in pass attempts, and that's not going to change anytime soon. And Ellington's just a very trusted safety valve out there. So I really like Ellington. If he's out there, he's available in 22%, or only owned in 23% of leagues. So he's a guy that, especially in PPR leagues, is a good person to look at. Should see 6+ receptions a week. Someone that can just be a high volume, high floor play for you until David Johnson gets back. And then I just want to make sure I mention Alex Collins, the Baltimore running back, only 10% owned, was only 4% owned going into the games yesterday. But then news broke that he was going to be featured after that running game has been so inept. I actually unearthed a little stat today. I was doing a little math. Collins in his last 2 games has 18 carries, which he's turned into 184 yards. So 9.1 yards per clip. The guy's been ripping the ball. Meanwhile, let's look over at Terrence West and Buck Allen. They've combined for 20 carries. Guess how many they've ripped off on 20 carries?
35 yards.
43, so you gave him a little bit too much credit there. 43 yards, 2.15 yards a carry on their 20 looks. So to me, that math seems pretty obvious. Alex Collins is doing way more with less than any of those other two. They started phasing those two out and in favor for Collins, even in a game flow that was not favoring a workhorse back. Collins was getting some serious volume. So I expect those 9 carries. It was 9 carries last week, 9 carries this week. I expect that to continue to ratchet up. The only concern there is fumbling, because he did fumble the ball, and that's historically been a problem with him. So John Harbaugh came out and said he can't put the ball on the ground or we're not going to put him in. So that does give you that kind of, if I throw him in and then suddenly he fumbles the first play of the game, he gets benched, fuck, that sucks. But still, he just looked so much better than those other guys. And I really just have a good feeling about Collins. He's one of those waiver wire guys that I just could see ending up being a true RB2 to end the season. So I like Alex Collins out there very widely. Few other names just throw out. We talked about the Seattle running backs. Aaron Jones for Green Bay is going to be filling in. Wayne Gallman's only 3% owned. The Giants, he's taken over for Paul Perkins, who got hurt. Elijah McGuire for the Jets, 2% owned. So those are just names that we get a lot. I've been getting some BS shit for people that we only give out 40% owned, like Alvin Kamara. There's a few more names in case you're really desperate, and Murray and Kamara and Ellington and Alex Collins are all gone. Well, there you go. There's some varsity league stuff for you.